Hi, this is just an overview of how you will be presenting during your presentation to the panel. So, I always do, so when you come in, it's going to look like this, okay? Um, and this is if you're using a Google site. If you're using a PowerPoint, your PowerPoint will be up, okay? And so it'll be something as simple as this. Hi, my name, and I understand that this might not directly correlate, but I'm not going to speak on behalf of the student. So, hi, my name is Tina LeBaron. This is my portfolio. I'm excited to show you how my 25 years of experience connects to the NAEYC early standards. So we'll go to standard 1. Standard 1 is child development in the context of learning, or child development and learning in context. And so the first one I'm going to go over is my ASQ. ASQ is the Ages and Stages Questionnaire. This helps students or teachers understand the developmental period of early childhood from birth through age 8 across physical, cognitive, and social, emotional, linguistic domains. And then in Head Start, we also focus on bilingual, multilingual development. And so at this point, as I pause, at this point, if your ASQ doesn't cover bilingual, multilingual development, add a fact or how you connect that. If it does, explain that. If you are using developmental milestones, they do not cover as much as they talk about language development. You could say something like the AS or the developmental learning or the milestones includes language development. And so I focus on a bilingual classroom or multilingual development, right? And then you would just go to standard 1B. I chose intentional teaching cards. They help teachers understand and value each child as an individual with unique developmental variations, experiences, and strengths, as well as their interests, abilities, challenges, approaches to learning, and the capacity to make the right choices. These are an addition to our lesson activities where we can pull out other ways to strengthen or have the children master skills. For standard 1C, this is my home language survey. This helps us understand the ways that child development and the learning process occur in multiple contexts, including our families, their culture, language, community, and early learning settings, as well as larger societal context includes structural inequities. And so our home language survey does multiple things. It helps me understand if it's a dual language or if English is not their heritage language, then I know how to strengthen the classroom. I know that if I need to put more things in maybe their home language if I speak it, or maybe prompts or ways to educate myself on easy phrases that I can learn to help that child. Standard 1D is a lesson plan. Lesson plans help teachers use multidimensional knowledge about developmental periods of early childhood. Lesson plans are for individual children and the learning that occurs in those cultural contexts. And they help me make evidence-based decisions to support each child as well as meet overall goals. And so now I'm going to go to standard 2. Standard 2 is family teacher partnerships and community connections. So for standard 2A, I chose the All About Me poster. All About Me posters help me know, understand, and value the diversity of families. It gives me a really good idea of who that child is, what their strengths are, as well as just kind of a way to connect that child with their family. So they usually do this with their parents. It teaches the parents the importance of supporting their child. And so I love this activity, and then we're posted around the room so that they can view or review them on a daily basis. Here is the free little library. This is a way for us to collaborate as partners with families in the children's development. Books are not always accessible, so this is the way we adhere to providing another service. And then we also have literacy events, and this is our community resources. This supports families, it builds partnerships between the learning centers and our community organizations. So we have a bunch of organizations come. It's usually on a Saturday in November, and that's our way of providing services that may not be known to our families. All right. And then 3 is child development or child observation, documentation, and assessment. Teaching Strategies Gold really is the epiphany of early childhood. It helps us understand assessments, formal, informal, formative, summative, and conduct them to help us make informed choices about instruction planning in our classrooms. For Standard 3B, ASQs, the ASQ3 is a formal, informal assessment, and we use a variety of assessments. Teaching Strategies Gold is one, ASQ is another, but ASQ really helps teachers in the setting for knowing the developmental screening instrument, and it helps educators and families evaluate a child's progress. Here's that parent involvement with the ASQ3. So this is Standard 3C is using screening assessment tools in a way that's ethically grounded. ASQs are nice because we have our families take the ASQ home, conduct it at home, we conduct it on site, and then we compare our notes in our family meetings and just make a plan together. Standard 3D is build assessment partnerships with families. Our Teaching Strategies Gold helps us do that because they collect and organize information, and then that's the information that we share with the family. So the family is always informed of our intentional teaching practices. And let's go to 4. Standard 4 is developmentally, culturally, and linguistically appropriate teaching practices. So Standard 4A, I chose a safe space or a safe area, and this is to help children understand and demonstrate positive caring relationships in the classroom. So as the teacher, I want to make sure that that space is available so that they have that area where they can just kind of go. And it really is the foundation for classroom safety and respect. So for B, I chose conscious discipline. It helps teachers understand and use teaching skills that are responsive. I really chose this because it gives us an outline to an approach of that social emotional learning in the classroom. And without positive social emotional development, a child cannot succeed in other areas. For Standard 4C, I chose my preschool classroom design. I did this in 212. It was a really great activity. It kind of made me have to think and reflect on using all of my developmentally appropriate, culturally linguistic relevant anti-bias evidence and put them in a universal learning. So I knew that it was a reflective assignment that I've done in one of my classes where I had to put everything into practice into my classroom setting. And it was kind of nice to be able to design something from scratch, as I've never been able to do that before. All right. And 5 is knowledge, application, integration, and academic content in early childhood curriculum. I chose the Arizona Early Learning Standards for 5A. It's understanding the content knowledge, central concepts. These are a lifesaver. These are embedded in my lesson plans through Teaching Strategies Gold. I use them in my time at Glendale Community College. Here's my lesson plan that I chose for 5B. It helps me understand. It helps me understand why I teach and how I teach. So if I tend to be more hands-on, it helps me understand that, and it gives me ideas to maybe not teach how I learn, but to teach how everyone learns. Here is the alphabet recognition game. This is a Mighty Minute or an activity that Teaching Strategies Gold gives me. It helps teachers modify practices and expand and update content knowledge. So it's really important to have those connections. Standard 6 is professionalism as an early childhood educator. I chose Teaching Strategies Gold to identify and involve oneself in the field. There's a lot of training that goes into it. It really, through that training, it makes you a better teacher. Catholic Charities Westside Head Start for 6B is know and uphold ethical and other professional guidelines. There are a lot of guidelines that we follow in Head Start, but it really is about educating its best practices, and it's really putting the family first. Inclusion coach. So for 6C, they use professional communication skills and technology-meted strategies to work with families and colleagues. I included this as my inclusion coach because they have experience working in preschool settings, and you have to collaborate with the teacher, the family, the children, support staff to really create that inclusive classroom. And then 6D, engage in continuous collaborative learning. I chose the Arizona Workforce Registry as it helps me keep track of all my trainings and all my professional development. 6E is develop and sustain a habit of reflective intentional practices. Teaching Strategies Gold has that built into the application, so that's really nice for teachers. All right, and then last but not least is Standard 7, and that is early childhood field experiences. I did my first infant toddler internship back in 2025, and that was a different experience for me as I usually work with preschool. It was great. I learned a lot, and I think I had a little bit of a fear with toddlers, but I've overcome that fear. And here is my preschool internship that I did in 2024, and this really was my comfort zone. It was done in my classroom, and it was just a really good overall experience. Do you have any questions for me?